Mark initially reacted negatively to the news that he would have to visit his mother-in-law's country residence. Such an event was repeated every year. He was silently angry about it. His wife and mother-in-law asked him every year to help harvest the crops that grew in abundance in the vegetable gardens, bushes, and trees at Ashley's home. In his opinion, all those fruits, vegetables, and berries should have been bought at the store rather than spending the best and warmest days of the year growing and tending them. However, the women members of his family treasured what they grew with their own hands. So Mark had to put up with the situation and only occasionally lend a helping hand to his female relatives. It was on that day, when she tried hard to convince her husband once again to help her mother, there was an unfortunate twist of fate. The girl fell ill, her temperature rose quickly, and it became obvious that Mark would have to go alone. It was too late to refuse, for they had already committed themselves to help, and Ashley's huge plantation was filled with ripe fruit that was about to spoil. After assuring himself that his wife's illness was not severe and that she could handle the treatment, Mark hurriedly got into the car and drove out in the late afternoon. Mark reached the village late in the evening, close to 2 o'clock in the morning. The traffic jams had left him frustrated, especially since his plans for the weekend were not going according to plan. In addition, his mother-in-law took her time opening the gate, a habit that always annoyed Mark. He had to call her cell phone to wake her up. Despite his good relationship with her, these delays always got on his nerves. "You could have waited for me," he muttered quietly as he heard the deadbolt unlock. Ready to air his grievances, Mark was surprised by his mother-in-law's appearance. Ashley greeted him in a nightgown that showed off her beautiful legs because of its short length. "Hi, Mark. I'm sorry for the delay. I couldn't find my keys anywhere." "No worries. Let's get some rest," muttered the man, keeping his gaze on her feet. Mark, having enjoyed a full night's sleep, got out of bed around noon. There were undeniable benefits to visiting the village. The tranquility and fresh air, unlike the bustling city, gave him a much-needed boost of energy. Ashley understood his need for rest after an exhausting week and the start of a new job, so she refrained from bothering him. She always felt bad because she could see and understand that he wasn't thrilled with this kind of help. However, she deeply appreciated his efforts to please her, so she reciprocated. By the time her son-in-law came out of the guest bedroom, a delicious and hearty breakfast was waiting for him. "If I eat all this, I won't be able to work," he exclaimed delightedly. He was in a nicer mood now than he had been the night before. "Feel free to eat as much as you like. I won't be offended." "Whatever you say." "What are our plans for today?" "I suggest we start with apples and then move on to vegetables. But we can decide as we go along. By the way, the river is unusually warm right now. I swim there every day, so I highly recommend going there towards the end of the day." "Oh, that's a great suggestion. I really like swimming." "Okay, I'll leave you to it. Finish your food and go outside." The day flew by so fast that Mark didn't even notice. Numerous baskets, bags, and other containers were filled with ripe fruit. In fact, the man even exceeded his mother-in-law's plan for the day. Her presence played a part in this accomplishment. Ashley was dressed in short shorts and a tight t-shirt on this hot day. Mark had always found her attractive, but now he couldn't take his eyes off this energetic and mature woman. "Thank you, Mark. You've been a great help to me." "You're welcome. I'll continue my work tomorrow before I leave." "Great. By the way, do you remember the way to the river?" "I've already forgotten it. Could you please show me the way?" Soon, the mother-in-law and son-in-law set off in the right direction and arrived at the place in 10 minutes. It was a secluded piece of paradise surrounded by trees and thickets. A perfect place for those who like to sunbathe and swim in privacy and tranquility. "It's a beautiful place," Mark said. "Oh God, I forgot to bring my swim trunks." "Don't worry, there's no one here. I often swim naked here myself," the woman confessed. "Oh no, I forgot to lock the gate." Concern appeared in the woman's eyes, and she hurried toward the house. "That's even better," thought her son-in-law, and taking off his clothes, dived into the water. As he swam, he couldn't stop thinking about his mother-in-law's remark that she was bathing here naked. What did she mean by that? Did she mean something special, or was it just a casual remark? He wondered. Finished bathing, he got out of the water and lay down on the grass. A few minutes later, he was completely dry and hurried toward the house. Ashley was still working in the garden. "Enough work. Let's get you swimming too." "Yeah, I was just getting ready when you got here." Soon the woman headed back to the river, and Mark decided to stop by the nearest store to get something to drink for the evening. Selecting a bottle of whiskey, he decided to waste no time and took a big gulp straight from the bottle. The drink burned his empty stomach, and Mark immediately had the mischievous idea of secretly watching his mother-in-law. Quickening his pace, he quickly made his way to a familiar spot. He was just in time to see Ashley slowly emerge from the water, shimmering in the sunlight. She was indeed swimming completely undressed. It didn't take long for her to find herself under the watchful eye of a familiar man. Her brother-in-law watched intently as the mature woman basked in the warm embrace of the sun's rays. "Well done," he quietly praised, taking another sip from his bottle. Over the next 30 minutes, the woman took 2 more graceful dips in the water, attracting the attention of his son-in-law, who discreetly cast glances at her. He felt a mischievous excitement akin to that of a teenager peeking at adults. As Ashley began to dress, Mark quickly turned and headed toward the house. However, in his moment of reverie, he inadvertently stepped on a dry branch, giving away his presence. Although his mother-in-law paid no attention to his approach through the bushes, she unmistakably sensed that she was not alone in the clearing. The woman returned home to find her son-in-law waiting for her at the table. He arranged glasses and snacks, showing that he was patiently waiting for her arrival. The mother-in-law appreciated the gesture, as she herself liked to have a drink before going to bed. As he continued to drink, he couldn't help but stare at his relative. Perhaps, he thought, it wouldn't hurt to try it, just once. With newfound determination, he turned the conversation to more intimate topics. To his surprise, Ashley gladly embraced these discussions, not shy in her choice of words. "Can you believe it? Someone actually spied on me at the river today, and while I was swimming. Even an old lady like me can attract someone's interest." "Oh, please don't talk about yourself like that. You are not old at all, but a very pretty woman. Do you really think so?" Her mother-in-law asked, her eyes full of hope. "Absolutely, in fact. I must confess that it was I who peeped." "Mark, did you?" "Why?" "Well, I must confess, I've always admired you. Of course, I've liked you before, and this is such a great occasion to look at the beautiful things. You flatter me." Hearing these words, the woman felt a sense of shame and realized that her son-in-law had been watching her for a long time. "You know what? I no longer wish to remain a mere spectator. I wish for something more." Mark sat down next to his mother-in-law, and to the surprise of the annoying relative, she made not the slightest attempt to prevent him from gazing at her. As on the riverbank, they had no need of outer clothing. The next day they forgot all about the harvest, preferring it to a more exciting and enjoyable activity. As Mark drove home, all he could think about was how good he had been in the village, and he enjoyed peeping. Now he could not be forced to go to the village. He would go himself as soon as the opportunity arose. The whole summer was still ahead, and he and his mother-in-law would spend a lot of time on the river.